Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining in today to Beautifully Bruised in the CPS show. I am your host, Latrika Jones. And again, I just want to say thank you for your time because I'm sure there's so many other things that you can be doing on this Friday. And I do call this Friday Freedom Friday because hopefully this weekend you can take a chance, get a break, do whatever you need to do to woosah. Let this be your weekend because I know it's needed because a lot takes place during the week. And sometimes if you just go home and do nothing, to me, sometimes that's necessary as well. So again, I can't so much information that I have in store for you today. We have an awesome guest that has a plethora of knowledge and wisdom that I think she would definitely benefit you hearing what she has to say. Before I get any further, I know I have to always acknowledge my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, I honestly would not be sitting in this chair on today. I wouldn't have the strength to do so, but God is faithful and he has made ways for me that words in my mind sometimes is still mind blown by what he has done. But God is faithful. So again, I give him the credit and give him all the glory because it belongs to him. So again, I don't want to talk more than what I should because I know we only have a certain allotted amount of time. But again, we have an awesome guest today. Her name is Alana Taylor. Make sure I'm saying Alana Strader Taylor. That's going to be joining in today. So Alana, welcome and thank you for joining our show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, no problem at all. I just, like I say, Alana has a lot of different gifts. I do know that she is blessed. She is a paralegal that is here in Texas, and she has so much knowledge. I got a chance to meet her at a conference not too long ago. We got a chance to kind of collaborate shortly. And when she gave me all the things that she's doing and all the wisdom that she has, I just thought, honestly, with the whole point of this show, dealing with legal matters and things of that sort, sometimes people don't know what direction they need to go in, regarding their CPS cases. And I just thought, again, she would be a great asset to share of her knowledge. And if even it's not pertaining to CPS, she has many other gifts and trades. So again, Alana, I just want to say welcome to our show today. Before we get started, is there anything that you would just like to mention before we go into a few questions for you today?
Um, no, not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely. No problem at all. Well, I just want to ask you, Alana, because since I've been, obviously when you're dealing with CPS and there's so many different things that it consists of, with legal laws and knowing how to do certain things. And again, I must acknowledge Attorney Vince because we are on his platform, and by the grace and mercy of God, he has been in the legal field, I want to say 30 or 40 years, if I heard him correctly. So he have definitely helped so many families that is fighting CPS. And I highly recommend anyone, if you can, to not handle this by yourself. Seek legal counsel by all means necessary. So with that being said, Alana, can you please share what is it that really made you want to become a paralegal?
Well, I just like to help people, first of all. You
Wow.
know, a lot of people just need that help to navigate the legal system. And
Correct.
in all cases, you may not necessarily need an attorney to help you navigate. You just need someone to prepare the documents. And that's kind of where we come in.
Absolutely.
We prepare your documents for you, make sure they're properly done so you can hopefully get the result. We can't guarantee anything ever, right? But to at least get the result that help you get the result you're looking for, you know. And back to what you were saying, with CPS, there is something, I just want people to know when CPS contacts you initially, a lot of people think that they have to welcome them.
Wow.
You have to let them in your home.
That's
You
good.
have to let them. No, you do not.
I like
You are
that.
actually protected by your constitutional rights.
Wow.
So if CPS knocks at your door and they say, well, we got a report of, X, Y, and Z, you
Mhm.
do not have to allow them in your home. You
That's
can
good.
make them go to court and get a court order
Wow.
to come back and do their investigation. If you're like, that's fine, I'll talk to them, I have nothing to hide, that's perfectly fine as well. Just remember, anything that you say can be held against you later on.
You
So,
already bringing it. You are bringing it on in. I'm telling you, Oh my God. I promise you, I wish I would have known this information years ago. Because, so, like you say,
Yes.
a lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm. They don't know. They think that, oh, if I don't open this door, they're going to call the police or something like that. Remember, it's a civil matter.
Wow.
Therefore, it's not an arrestable matter.
Oh my God.
So if you don't let them in, what can they do but go back to their desk? That's all they can do. And they have to get permission from the court to actually come into your home and do an investigation.
My God.
So a lot of times, I mean, we all know you get false claims a lot. You and your
Right.
boyfriend just broke up and he's mad. You and
Right.
your husband just got separated and
Right.
he's mad.
He's mad. Right.
So he calls
Yeah.
CPS and says
Mhm.
she doesn't feed the kids, she beats the kids, and
Mhm.
whatsoever, or
Mhm.
vice versa. You
Yeah.
mad because your ex now has a new girlfriend. So
Right.
now you calling CPS on him saying that he's abusing the kids. So a lot of these times is false claims made in a vindictive manner,
Wow.
and they're not legitimate. But at the same time, CPS has to do their job. They have to do their
Right.
due diligence,
Correct.
because we all know there are children out there that are really being
That
abused
is
and
absolutely
neglected.
correct. Mhm.
That's true and that's factual.
Mhm.
But you want to protect yourself. And the best way to protect yourself is to know your rights.
It's so,
Know what they can and cannot do. If you do allow them in your home,
uh-huh.
and personally speaking, I have been investigated
A lot
by
of people
false
have.
claims twice.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
one was by that, estranged
Oh,
husband.
me too. I have to. Yes.
And
Wow.
another one was a false claim made by a hospital worker. So if you want to invite them in, that's perfectly fine. But
Hmm.
after they talk to you, the next thing they're going to want to do is
Hmm.
roam around your house. Now, you don't have to let them do that even after you speak with them,
Oh,
because
you
believe
know.
me, when they're sitting in your home, they're
Mhm.
already taking into account
Scoping the place out.
visually everything. So you might think they're engaging with you, which they are, but they're also observing other things.
Observing other.
And if your children are there, they're observing how they react to you. Do they jump every time you raise your hand? Because if you do, hey, that could be kind of like abuse, like something is wrong. Because if you raise your hand and your child jumps, that might mean, you raising your hand a little bit too much
Yeah.
for, a negative consequence.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, you do not have to let them roam around your house. You do not have to let them look in your refrigerator. You do not have to let them do any of that. And my next tip would be, when the investigation does start and you are notified, you
mhm.
need to make sure that everyone else is notified. The schools, daycare, any type of next of kin, because they're researching and they're investigating. They're trying to find out where your kid goes to school, daycare, all of that, because they're going to interview those people.
That is, and it almost like they do it like clockwork. So I
They
see
do.
why you say notify them immediately because yeah, like you say, they're already on it. But you brought up so many, my goodness, nuggets and gems that you making me sit up straight in my chair now. So hey, I gotta, you making me think. Okay, so Alana, you say if they were to come in, even after you invite them into your house and not knowing this valuable information that you've shared or your attorney have already, educated you on, what does that look like if you say that you don't want them to go into your refrigerator or into the bedrooms or your more personal, places or things in your house? How would you say decline that? Just say, I don't, what would,
I say it just like that. I prefer that you not.
wow.
And they will leave it at that because they know. And if you do get one that might be a little bit overzealous,
Right. Because
honestly, in my career, I have not come into contact with a CPS worker that is that overzealous.
really,
Usually if you say I prefer not to, they say okay, they write that down and they leave.
okay.
But if you have one
Hmm.
that's a little bit overzealous
Hmm.
and they say, well, no, you have to let me, tell them no, I don't. And I need to speak with your superior, just
Okay.
like you would do if it was a police officer being a little bit over, right? You would say, hey, you need to call your supervisor.
Right. Correct.
Same type of thing.
Okay.
And that's,
Good.
the parallels between CPS and the police are very, very similar. The difference is CPS can't arrest you, whereas the police can. But
Right.
how you interact with the police is how you need to think about it when you interact with CPS. You
Wow.
need to know your rights, and you know that you can refuse certain things,
Wow.
that, there's things that they can and cannot do. So CPS, they enforce the child protective laws, but they're not an enforceable unit. Let me roll that back. They investigate. They
Right.
don't enforce. The court is the one who enforces. So they're an administrator. So
Administrative.
think about it like that. They're right. They're an administrative role. So they can't arrest you. They can't do anything. They can't put warrants out on you. They have to then take their notes to the court.
So is that why a lot of times if you don't do what they're asking you, they're trying to get into the home or whatever the case may be, they have to go back and get a police to try to escort them to get in because they can't, like you say, they can't issue the warrant. They don't have,
Correct. They can't. Right.
wow, that's so good to know.
That's
Because
correct. And then the police cannot do anything either without a court order. So if it's just an initial investigation and, CPS is demanding that they come in and they say, well, we'll call the police, and the police come, again, you say, I have not seen a warrant. I have not seen a court order saying that I have to allow them in my home.
so you can
So without a court order, is really just like if the police come and knock at your door and say, hey, I heard that such and such happened. You can choose to speak with them, or you can say, come back with a warrant and close the door.
ooh. You know what? You are blessing us already, Alana, because I assure you, honestly, that was my mistake. I didn't know until after the fact. Again, we're talking about CPS here. We have Alana, who's an awesome paralegal here in Texas, is giving us so many great gems and nuggets and advice on how you can handle yourself accordingly regarding the laws if CPS was to come to your home. Because I assure you, I even guessed on my show other people I've talked to outside the show and myself personally years ago when my CPS encounter, I didn't know that I had rights like that. I could have said,
Right.
no, you can't come in my house. I do. They didn't bring the police, but I've heard other people where they do try to bring the police. And even at that point, like you said, Alana, you can still say, I have to see the warrant. Can you
Correct.
please? Oh my God.
Correct. Yes. And I mean, if you want to take it even further, and really learn, what an investigation for a report of, any type of child abuse or neglect, you can always research the statutes and really educate yourselves on the law.
That's good.
It's actually under, Texas Family Code 261.
Okay.
That's the entire statute regarding investigations.
Wow.
What can start an investigation and things like that. And I can provide you, which you can provide to your viewers
Okay.
later on, the actual the administrative code, what CPS can and cannot do. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to read it out because it's very vast, but at least having some clip notes, and saying, okay, well, this is important. This is important. That way you can at least have a little bit more knowledge of,
Right.
how to handle and what they can and cannot do. Another thing with, let's say you are in court, right? It got all the way to court,
Mm-hmm.
and you have heard the horror stories
Oh
about
yeah.
people being demanded to give up their parental rights.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Mhm.
they cannot make you do that at all.
Okay. Okay. So with that being said, Alana, so you even have some type of say so with what you just said. Like they can't. You said, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that for me one more time? What you just said.
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah. So yeah, you if you want to, if they take you to court,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it got that far,
Right.
and they take you to court and they're saying, you are so unfit
Mm-hmm.
We demand that you terminate your parental rights. You do not have to feed into that either. There are steps because ultimately, when Health and Human Services first enacted, the whole child abuse, what people don't know, and I learned
Mm-hmm.
this from my social worker mother,
Okay.
uh, the laws are actually mimic animal abuse. Yes, there were animal abuse laws before there were child abuse laws.
Okay, I'm listening. Shut the door. I'm done. Are you?
I'm so serious. And I learned this from my mother, who actually was teaching her master's in social work class, and she was given the history of social work. And there were animal protective laws before there were child protective laws.
Okay, now is this because listen, I have never heard that before in my entire life. So
Yes,
I'm getting listen, you're educating me right now. So I'm hoping the viewers will also get these nuggets and gems that you're definitely dropping on us to know how to handle our cases, legal wise as far as I know you're a paralegal here in Texas, but Alana, can this be applied to all the states or is it just for
yes.
Texas?
No, this is all the states because it's very, very similar. Now, my mother, she was, well, she still is, even though she's retired.
Okay.
She has her master's in social work, but she's also a doctor. She has her doctorate. So she taught the
Wow.
last maybe 15 years of her career. But the
Right.
beginning, 20, 30 years of her career, she actually worked in Child Protective Services in Hamilton County, Cincinnati, Ohio.
My God.
So, being a director down there and a supervisor and all of that,
Mm,
as
that's
a child growing up in that, you learn a lot as
of course.
well. So the whole goal, though, nationwide, is to
Mhm.
always reunite the child with the
Mhm.
biological parent. So
Okay.
there are steps that can be taken. So if the worst case happened and your
Okay.
child got taken away from you, there are steps to reunite you with your child. And I would say that if you really want to fight for your child,
Of
fight
course.
for your child because they're not going to make it easy for you.
Right. Oh no, no,
If they give you eight different things and you have to do, you
mm,
better check them all off.
right. That's so good, Alana. I'm so glad you said that because that is true. By me personally, have experienced an encounter with CPS years ago, but like, I could tell, like you just said, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, and don't think you can just halfway yourself into it and be
Mm-mm.
reunified with your kids. I had another, well, actually, I won't say another because I know you're a paralegal, but she was actually a caseworker for quite some years here in Texas as well, and she was a previous guest on my show, and she said that a lot of times she said, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to be all in. You can't halfway do things because, like you said, if you don't be surprised, like you said, if you don't follow those steps that they're giving you to complete, that they try to
Yes,
firmly take your children away. And sadly, a lot of
yes.
kids have been taken away.
Yes, they have. And they stay in the system
Mm,
because if you do steps 1 through 7 out of 10,
hmm.
those other three steps will cause you to lose your children.
Jesus.
Like they do not play. Once the child is out of your custody, out of your possession, like they say, possession is the key,
Possession.
right? No matter what it is, it could
Alana, this
be
is good.
a vehicle. Possession is
That
key.
is the
So
key.
once those children are out of your possession,
My God.
to get them back, you have to fight tooth
Yeah.
and nail, whether it's they're with another parent, because I have seen this happen,
My God.
where there was a client whose child's other parent
Mm-hmm.
got pulled over for DUI. The
Mm-hmm.
children happen to be at home by themselves and
Mm.
not at the legal age, as Texas states that they can be at home. So keep that
Gotcha.
in mind too, parents. If your child is under the age of I think it's 12 or 13, they
Mm-hmm.
cannot be at home by themselves.
Okay, good. Another
So
good
keep that in mind.
one. Keep that in
But
mind.
anyway,
Okay.
the
You
the police
have, please keep talking.
the police found out that the children were home by themselves while she was in jail. So that's how the other parent got possession. Once he got possession, he filed in court saying that all the custody needs to be changed and come to him.
Oh,
And then
wow.
what happens? What do you think happens?
It
Of
happened.
course, it got granted.
Oh my God.
It got
Something like
granted.
that is like you say, be careful, be mindful because they can use that against you. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
Exactly. And once you lose possession, to get possession back is a uphill battle. I see it time and time again. And in more cases, I know this is CPS, but in
Mhm.
more cases, it's custody.
Custody. And that's a good one too, because that's also to me, it's you the paralegal, know the, but it's almost kind of affiliated to me
It
because
is.
okay, okay.
Yeah, because some people use CPS as a weapon in
Yeah,
a custody matter.
yes, they do. Ooh, they do.
Yes, they will use CPS as a weapon.
My God.
So, they can switch custody or what have you, So, possession in CPS or custody matters is very, very key because if you ever if you ever have an agreement, I'm a kind of flip it again.
Okay.
But because again, I have a case like this. So
No,
if you ever have an agreement with your former spouse or your children's other parent
uh-huh.
for any type of long-term
Right,
transition,
right, right, right,
right? And
right,
that is not court order. You guys don't have a custody
right.
order. It's like, oh, we get along fine. Everything is
Mhm, you
great.
do.
We
Yeah.
co-parent so good. Let me tell you something. If you're like, hey, I got a new job over here. Can you watch the kids for about 3 months while I get settled?
Wow.
Get it in
Get it
writing.
in writing. Ooh, Alana, that is so good.
Get it in writing because you know what can happen?
What can happen?
As soon as you drop those kids off, they're going to file a custody suit and
Ooh,
they can say you abandoned the children
Jesus.
and that they have possession of the children now and they want you to pay child support now.
So
And
you
because they have possession, what do
they
you think
can
the court
do
going
it.
to say?
Oh my God. Because you're right, they go by who I guess where the child lives. And so the other parent or party, whoever has to pay for the child support.
And
Oh,
you can scream all day. Wait a minute, this was temporary. We had an agreement. They were only supposed to watch the kids for, a couple of months while I got settled over here.
wow.
Is at that point, he said, she said.
Yes, he said, she said the
Because
same
what do you think the other person going to say? No,
again.
I don't remember us
That
talking
what it
about
was.
that.
Ooh. Oh, so
I
that's
mean,
why
they can say anything. Yeah, get it in
right.
writing.
Get it in writing. I hope my viewers are listening because, again, Alana, the paralegal here that's on the show, she is dropping some major gems and nuggets. And it's some information that if I would have known years ago, I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that my situation would have went nearly a year or over a year as long as it had dealing with CPS. So I beg you to please take heed to what she's sharing because it is so much credible information that can really help you when you're because I think the sooner you can take on and have the knowledge of knowing these laws and know what your rights are, the sooner, the better. Don't wait till it get, too far down the line because I've even heard attorneys say on Attorney Vince's platform that after a case has, been in process so long, I don't know if maybe it's hard to turn around, because so much damage has been done. So the sooner the better
Mm-hmm.
you can get knowledge in your head to know how to work this your case dealing with CPS. Please seek legal counsel. We have Alana, who is a Texas paralegal that's here today that is sharing these oh my goodness, a plethora of knowledge. And she comes from a family and a background of a mother that I believe she said was a foster mom, and they heavy in education. So they
Well,
also
she was a social worker.
he was a social worker, even more
Mm-hmm.
education of knowing how this works. So my God, oh my God, Alana. So that is really good. Everything that you have brought forth so far. I want to ask you too, with being a paralegal, Alana, what does you've already shared so much, but what does your job consist of? Do you draft a lot of the paperwork so parents know how to enter into the courtroom, or what does that look like in the life of a paralegal at work?
That is actually exactly what we do. Now, I have my own independent paralegal firm, and my
Cool.
supervising attorney is the family law attorney.
Wow.
So we are two separate entities,
Okay.
but she is the attorney supervising my paralegal business. Now,
Okay.
in a traditional law firm where the paralegals work right there under the attorney,
Mhm.
um, let me just say, paralegals do all the work. Okay, we're we're the ones who draft up the documents and do the research and do all that anyway. The attorney just signs their name, and y'all attorneys out there, y'all know it's true.
I needed that laugh. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, in other words, y'all definitely know. It seems like y'all are presenting the paperwork for the attorney, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes. Now, of course, the attorneys, they're the ones who went through
Of
the
course.
college and their license and things
Right.
like that. They've been to trial. So there's a lot of things
Right.
that of course the attorney is going to know more, right? Because they're the
Right.
ones who actually go to court. They're the
Okay.
trial attorney. They're appearing court. They coordinate with the OAG. They coordinate with the opposing counsel, with the judges. They have those relationships.
They're in the
So of
trenches.
course, right. So of
Exactly.
course, it's a whole nother level
It
to that.
is.
And
Right.
that's why we as paralegals are so essential to them because honestly, a lot of them, they just don't have the time.
Yes. Yes.
Let's just be frank.
I can only imagine. Yes.
Yes, we do all, most of the paperwork, depending on the size of the firm. Most
Right.
paralegals probably do 98% of the paperwork. And
Uh-huh.
then the attorneys review it. They make sure that it is correct and accurate and all of that. But the attorneys are the ones, in court, preparing for court. They're battling for you. They're the ones making the relationships and the phone calls and things like that.
Right.
So, we work hand in hand. But yeah, so here what we do is we will draft up paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it is a CPS case, we always want people to get an attorney. So if
Okay.
it's a CPS case and you call Texas State Paralegals, we will take your information and
Mm-hmm.
then we will refer you to our supervising attorney. Our
Okay.
supervising attorney does work on a flat rate
Okay.
and not a hourly fee. So that's
Mhm.
what makes us different.
Oh,
And
got
then we continue to do the paperwork. We're the paralegal support. She's your representation, and get
right.
it done.
Right.
If you decide, what, I don't even have, you know, the minimum because she is in it to help people as well. So
Right.
she's like probably at least 50% cheaper than most other attorneys out here.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
But let's just say she said, "Oh, your case is going to cost $3,500."
Mm-hmm.
You're like, "Man, I don't even have that." We can
Right.
prepare the documents for you to file pro se to take
Okay.
it on yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the key: when there are children involved, you can request the court to um, to appear or not appear, but to appoint. Sorry,
Good
that's what I was trying
point.
to say. To
Okay. No,
appoint
you're fine. Okay.
a amicus attorney or
Hmm.
an attorney at litem,
Okay.
and an attorney at litem or a guardian at litem then comes in and they become the attorney for the children, not you, the parent,
Wow.
but the children. And it's free, it's court appointed, so the children now have representation, and that attorney is going to look out for the best interests of the children. So in turn it will be your best interest to form a relationship and a bond with that attorney, because then, even though, like I said, technically they're not working for you,
Right.
but those are your children, you
Correct.
know
That's
so
good. Ooh,
so that's another way to kind of get an attorney involved, at least in the beginning, maybe while you're trying to find legal aid. You can
right.
always contact legal aid.
Right. Right.
You're trying to find some resources. At least this is a temporary fix
A
to get
template.
some type of
Some type of
representation.
representation. It beats a blank. So,
Hmm.
oh, that's so good. And you actually, that answers my next question because I was going to ask you what is the difference between a paralegal and an attorney. So you definitely just, enlightened us and shared, what the difference is. So, wow. Okay.
And
Well,
the attorneys can give the legal advice. Paralegals, we can't really give legal advice. I'm just providing, knowledge from that's available out there on the internet. You do enough research, enough digging. This is just the experience that I have for, over 14 years of being a paralegal.
Oh my
you
God.
know, but the
Mhm.
attorneys give the legal advice where they guide you. They say, okay, you need to file this, you need to do this. That's
Right.
what the attorneys can do.
They know
You
it.
know, provide. Right. They know the legal ins and outs, you know. Now, if we're in a private consultation and you hire our services, because I am supervised by the attorney, I will go to the attorney, say, this is what's going on. She will give me the legal advice, which then I will in turn give to you. So you actually get free legal advice, you know, because we have to have a supervising attorney. So you're getting free legal advice and, you know, free legal support or attorney support without paying the attorney fees.
Wow. You know what? I never thought about it like that.
Yep.
And you said, okay, with that information that you are heavily sharing so much light on, and I know you said, obviously, you said you're a paralegal. You've been doing this for 14 years. You know, you also do work, with child custody. You draw up, I guess, the paperwork needed for. You also said you work hand in hand with an attorney here in Texas, and
Mhm.
that is something too. I would have to, get with a attorney Vince on because to see, I'm sure the state laws may work differently in some way, but I would love, if possible, maybe she can come on for, the share or some enlighten us as well with some things that we can know about here in Texas, if possible or not. So, again, we would, I would love to bring you back on or either connect with her, even your mom. Like you
Yeah.
say, my God, she has, you say, been I know a foster
No,
work.
social. She was a social worker, but she was the head of the adoption and foster care division
Wow.
in Child Protective Services. So basically, if you call, you know, here in Cincinnati, they call CPS 2 for 1 kids or
A
HSS because that's the
two-for-one
number.
specialist.
So if you want to report something, you call 513 2 for 1 kids. So that's kind of how I got the nickname.
Woo.
Uh,
What?
yeah.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, so if you call 2 for 1 kids, my mom usually was intertwined with CPS, even though she was on the adoption or foster side, because if there was no kin for that person, you know, for that child who was removed from their home to go to, then
Right.
what you have to hook up with the foster parent. So my mother, she was very intertwined in the CPS part of it because she had to a lot of times find that foster home or permanent placement in adoption. She also taught the foster parent classes because you have to take classes in order to become a foster parent. So she taught
Right.
all those classes. And then she went to the private division and worked for Catholic Social Services and did like private adoptions. And then she went on to the University of Cincinnati for the last 15 years of her career and taught the Master Social Work program.
She is a jack of all trades.
Yeah, yeah, she was a member of the Black Social Workers up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
She was really involved in the community. So you know, yeah, she has a lot of knowledge, especially about this. And like I said, just me growing up in that, I used to
so
visit my
you were
mom's office all
already
the time, right? So I was like already kind of,
you
you know,
plugged
involved
in. You
in.
knew. How could you not?
Right, exactly. I remember just sitting in her office, you know, kind of looking through things, and you know, you pick up on a lot. I would visit some of the classes that she would teach, you
Wow.
know, as I became a teenager. So I did learn a lot as a kid growing up,
Yeah.
um, and then getting into the business of family law. You know, of course, that's a whole nother side to
Right.
it too. So, you know, in family law, of course, it's custody, divorce. You know, we deal with all of that, CPS, adoption. You know, unfortunately, when it does come to CPS, sometimes it is in the best interest of the child not to be placed back with their biological parents. You
Really?
know, yeah, sometimes it is. You know, you have people out there who are just
They
drug
are
addicts and they
really
refuse to get off drugs.
out drugs. Right.
There was a personal situation that someone very close to me had all of her children taken away
My God.
because her boyfriend was a child molester. And CPS told her, you know, either leave him alone or you're gonna lose your kids. She chose the man over her kids.
Oh my God. And I hear cases like that, Alana, that sadly happens, that they will make the choice of the guy um versus their children. So, oh my God. That
So there's a psychological disconnect there, because when you look at that, you have to look and see, well, what was that person going through? What was their background? What was their experience as a child? Because there's a disconnect there, that you would choose your
has
flesh
to
and
be
blood, the children that you bore out of your body,
right,
over this man
right.
who's a child molester, who has molested your own children. And so that happened. And unfortunately, at the time, it was 4 children. They all were placed in foster care. And remember this, a lot of the times they aren't kept together.
Oh, I'm so glad, Alana, you are saying, listen, I'm gonna have to bring you back whenever you have time. Because this is no, I'm serious. I kid you not. Everything you saying is blowing my mind because it's so relevant to what is happening all over the United States with CPS cases and families. Oh my God. Okay, dealing with the child molestation, like you said, if whatever the case may be, unfortunately, and I want to say this too, even though there are a lot of bad apples, I've seen where caseworkers were not working out of integrity, where, they weren't making the best choices, might have been biased,
Yes.
personal, whatever the case may
Yes.
be. But that doesn't mean everybody that worked with CPS is bad. You do have,
Correct.
you know what I'm saying? And I thank you for sharing that, Alana, because I have met some really good people that really, to me, their ultimate goal was to reunify you back with your children, but you had to
Mm-hmm.
do, what was necessary to get to that point. But they were more connecting you back than they were trying to,
Yes.
adopt them out into the system. So, wow.
And another thing, you have to think about, like you said, I agree. Most of the CPS workers are about reuniting families,
Right.
not tearing them apart, the vast majority. One thing you have to be mindful of is, one, the caseload. A lot of these CPS workers are just bathed and just weighed down
I've
with
heard that.
so many cases.
Yes.
Okay, so you're calling your caseworker and now you're mad. You're talking to your friend. Oh, they didn't call me back. I sent them a text message or an email 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Just be a little mindful that you're probably 1 out of 500 cases they
My
have.
God. My God.
So I'm not saying let it go. Okay, no, 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 these are
Don't
your
let it
children.
go.
You're supposed to be diligent.
That's what.
Okay, if you
Absolutely.
want to send an email every day, send an email every day till you hear back
Please
from
do.
them, but keep it cute.
Right.
Okay, keep
Right.
it professional.
It's the way you
Don't.
do it.
It's the way, right? Because what's the saying? You can get more money with
More,
sugar.
more
What?
bees with honey. Yes.
Yeah, bees with honey, right?
Yes.
So
That's
you
true.
want to be, now you can cuss them out when you hang up the phone, okay? When you're on the phone with your girlfriend,
Right.
you talking to your brother,
Right.
okay? You can do that then. So you can talk bad about them. But when you're speaking with them, I thank you so much, for giving me
Yes.
that information. I'm doing what I can. Do you have any
Good.
resources out there?
That's
I'm
good.
trying to get into this program, but is there anything, just keep that,
Oh, Lord,
keep it
that's
cute,
good.
keep it professional. And like
Right.
I said, when you hang up, if you want to go off and yell at the top of your lungs how horrible of a job they're doing,
Right.
do it in private,
Do it in
you
private.
know,
Ooh,
do it
that's
in
a good one,
private,
everybody. Do
but
it.
treat
Do
them
it.
like they are treating you so good, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to start remembering you then, but in a good way.
And a
In a good way. If you go hooping and hollering and cursing them out and
mhm.
doing all that on the phone, you know what? You're
What?
proving them right.
You're proving them right. Ooh,
You
my God.
proving them that you are not fit, that you have an anger issue. That's the first thing they're going to write down them notes. You have an anger issue. You have an issue with authority.
I know you're right because I had like I said, a previous guest that worked. She was a CPS worker, and she also worked as a supervisor in another department. But she say they are looking how you interact. They're looking at how you handle anger.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, if you calling them talking sideways, in other words,
Exactly.
right. They could use that against you.
Keep that in mind. Everything you say, do right. Any emails you send, all of that is being put in your folder.
Mama.
And it can be used. You could have had a bad day one day, and
Right.
that's the day you ended up going off. And we're human. I understand that,
Right.
but
It
just
happens.
remember
Right.
that is going in your file.
No matter what.
So if you're upset and you need to just take a moment, because I get emails sometimes and I'm like, really? And I'm ready just to type back, like, ooh,
Yeah.
sometimes I have to wait 24 hours.
Right. It's like do a reset. Let me give me
I take a breath. Let me go have that glass of wine, take a couple of breaths,
right.
and I'm gonna
That's
come
what.
back and address that later on. Because if I answer right then and there, we're gonna have some problems, you know. So it's just gonna take more attention. So sometimes we just
Ooh,
have to take that break and
we
keep in
do.
mind these are your babies.
That's right. That is
These
so
are your babies that you're fighting
so
for. No
good.
matter if they're still in your custody and you're, just being
Right.
investigated or
Right.
you're trying to get them back. These are
Right.
your babies,
These are your
so
legacy.
you
Yes.
just have to kind of bite the bullet.
You do. Sometimes you do though. That's even in life. Not
Oh,
just
yeah.
CPS cases, just interacting in life at work, with your
Hmm.
family or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just have to like, okay, and be honest. Listen, I'm the same way. It
Hmm.
just depends on my grandmother has a saying, it depends on what day you catch me on. Um, now my ultimate goal is to come correct, but again,
Right.
it might depend on what day you catch me on because you might get something different. So
Exactly.
it makes so much sense
And
to
that one thing can trigger you too, because
Mhm.
this is an emotional time.
Oh,
No
very
matter what stage with CPS you are in, if it,
right,
like I said, the beginning kind of investigation thing where you're rolling your eyes like, oh, this is bull, I know I'm a great parent. This is just,
right,
false accusations, or if it's something a little bit more serious, no matter how it is, you just always just want to be mindful of every single thing. Take those deep breaths. Contact a therapist. One
I
thing,
recommend that
especially in
too.
the community of color, we have
Yes,
a problem seeing
yes,
therapists.
yes, we
There's
do.
nothing wrong with talking to somebody because in
Right.
situations like this, it's very emotional,
It's
it's very
necessary to
sensitive,
me. Yes.
and it could be also a little bit embarrassing,
Mm,
right?
right,
Do
right.
you really want your family and friends to know you're being investigated by CPS? No.
You don't, right? Because every all
But you have this third party who doesn't know you,
that's
who
so true.
doesn't really care.
Right,
They're not judging you, so
correct.
they don't care. But
Right.
that is the person who you can just dump everything on.
Oh, Alana, that's so good. That is so
You can just, you can tell the whole truth.
right.
Because sometimes you're talking to a girlfriend or mom or something, there's little bits and pieces you leave out of the story. We all do. It's always little bits and pieces that we leave out of the
Wow,
story.
so good.
But with that therapist,
Wow.
you can be 1000% honest, truthful, and really tell. And I'm telling you, just having that weight lifted will
Yes,
make you feel
Lord.
so
Yes,
much better.
absolutely. And I say that too, Alana. I'm definitely in agreement with that. Sometimes, like you just said, you carrying so much. And honestly, you may not even realize it yourself. Alana, your confirmation, because the very last guest that I had on the show, she had experienced something with her case where, she actually said herself that until her caseworker pointed it out that, you are dealing with this. And she suggested in one of the services, that she take, classes to help her with it, kind of like counseling, to help her kind of get stuff out of her head and
Right.
see it in a different light. And she said herself after she took embarked and did some of the services like counseling and went into a facility that helped her, she realized that she did have a problem that she didn't even
Yes.
see her own self.
Right. Because we don't. We don't. We're not. It does sometimes take that neutral party who has
Right.
no emotional attachment to us to
Talk
really
about
open up that door or show us in the mirror like this is what is going on.
this is what's going
You
on.
know, because we're so immersed in it. You
Right.
know, and in your case, you're so immersed in it, you can't take that emotion out. And that CPS worker, I mean, let's just be honest, they have no attachment.
Right. They
They have
don't.
no attachment to you. They
They
have no
don't.
attachment to your kids. They have
Don't.
no attachment at all. You're just case number 1113.
Right. Just another number. Yes. Yes. Oh,
You know, and you have to remember that because all your emotion is in it,
right. Of
but
course.
theirs is not. So sometimes they can come off abrasive.
That's true. I'm glad
Sometimes
you
they can
said
come
that.
off seeming a little rude.
That's good.
You
That's
know, but
good.
that's just because you're case number 11113.
That may have something to do with Alana. Make us wake up today then. How about you? Go ahead then. Get us together.
I mean, seriously, I mean that's just facts. Now, if
Oh,
we were
that's
in a
good.
smaller town, if you're in a smaller town, you're in a smaller county
Right.
that might only have, let's say, you know, you have 2,500 people in your
Right.
whole town. Your
Right.
CPS case gonna be a whole lot different because you know what? They know your mama.
That's right. That's right.
In a town that
That's
small,
all they
everybody knows
do.
everybody, so
Everybody
then
knows
they are a
everybody.
little bit more emotionally attached.
I never thought about it like that though.
Yeah,
It has a difference in your location where you are. That
yeah.
is so. Ooh, I
Yeah.
never thought
But
about
if
it.
you're in Dallas, you're in Fort Worth, you're in
Mhm,
Houston, you're in
mhm,
San Antonio, you
mhm.
know, even Austin, you're in a bigger city, bigger counties, Tarrant County, Denton County, you
Right.
know, you're going to get a different reaction. I mean, even between them in the Metroplex,
Right.
you might get a different reaction in Denton County than you will Tarrant County. You
Mm,
get a different reaction in Tarrant County than you will Dallas County.
wow.
You know,
I know you're right because, and I want to ask you this too, Alana, because I've heard this before, but I've never actually looked into it. They say, and it could have changed since then because it was about a month or two or so when I had received this information. But they say here in Texas, statistics show that we're known to have the most CPS cases. Is that true?
I've read that as well. There actually are a few open lawsuits. I was researching down in Harris County a couple of years back. I did have a woman come to me to help her with a case.
Uh huh.
She had lost possession of
Oh,
their children. Little tidbit before I go on: if you have a court order where you're supposed to stay in a certain county or stay in the state of Texas, please do not leave that county or the state
oh,
without a court order because they will either demand you come back or you can lose possession of your children.
are you serious?
Yes. This case I'm getting ready to talk about reminded me of that. That's how she lost her children
Oh
because
my.
she left Harris County.
So if you've been receiving a CPS investigation or any
Any
type,
type of court order where it talks about possession and access, any type of court order where it says you must remain in, you know, Dallas County and contiguous counties. That means you cannot move out of any counties that touch Dallas County. So if
right,
you move to Bell County, up, you just violated the order. You
automatic.
know, automatically you just violated the order.
Wow, that is some
Yes.
great information. I never knew that.
Mhm.
I never knew that. So, oh, Alana, I'm so glad that
Yes.
you mentioned that because it could be other people that's watching and tuning in that they didn't know neither, and they was in the process of getting ready to relocate for whatever reason,
Right.
whatever. So, oh my God, see, this
Yeah,
is
it's very important. If you have a court order regarding possession and access,
Mhm.
read it. Read that portion of it and make sure that you abide by the geographical locations, you know, because if you do not get permission from the court, you are in violation. And either that other parent, or if you have, you know, let's say this is a temporary order because you have a CPS ongoing case,
Uh-huh.
CPS then now has ammunition to use against you because you did not abide by the order. And you can be
Oh
held
my
in
God.
contempt. There is fines involved. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you
It,
probably won't go to jail, but there are penalties
there are
if you're
people.
held in contempt of court.
Alana, that's listen. I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna just zip it up because you almost like what is it called, renegade. It's just coming out left and right. I thank God because I've always said knowledge is power.
Yes.
Knowledge is power and transparency transform. I'm telling you, if people just tune in and plug in to all this wealth of knowledge that you're dropping today, they will see a difference as far as knowing how to move forward with their case, depending on where it's at, obviously. But
Right.
everything you use, it can be used because it
Yes.
yes, absolutely, because it helps the parents to know what they can do or what they can't do. So,
And the
oh,
good thing though is our laws are Texas statutes, meaning that it doesn't matter what county you live in. This
uh-huh,
applies to you if you're in the state of Texas. Period.
okay, period.
You
No,
know,
absolutely.
and there are cases. Most of them that I've read were out of Harris County.
Okay.
So there
Mhm.
are lawsuits
Yes.
against CPS down there
Really?
for basically those overzealous, you know,
Right.
CPS investigators,
Yes, and
where
it's
they removed children when children shouldn't have been removed, or
correct.
they did not remove children when children
Either
should
way.
have been removed. Right. They have also named the attorney general in some of these suits. Like these are becoming big, big cases because a couple of them have gone in favor of the actual person of the plaintiff, and
My
they're
God.
very important because they set precedent, which
Ooh,
means that if are in that same situation, you can then refer to that case and say, hold on, this court in this district ruled on this, therefore, you know, so it's very important to keep up with these because if we
exactly.
don't hold CPS accountable, then they can run rampant.
I am so glad you said that, Alona, because I just noticed from, hearing these stories here, even on our platform, and just other people that I meet or met in the past when I was dealing with my encounter. And even currently now, from time to time, you turn on the news and it show you CPS cases where you have, for example, the latest story I seen on the local news here in Texas. It was a mom that it was something as far as dealing with abuse. I don't know if she it was very let me just say it like this. The things that she did to the child, excuse me, which was dealing with abuse, I don't know if she had, because it showed that not only had she did this type of abuse, her siblings had did it as well. And I don't know if they had uh, did something to the child where the child was so injured that normally in that type of scenario, CPS would have removed the child.
Mm-hmm.
Reason they did not. The children
Mm-hmm.
had remained in the care. So what ended up happening, if I understood the story correctly, and I'm going to look more into it, but when the news showed it, it basically showed since CPS did remove the children, that it seemed like the children she may have, they had perished in her custody. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, and with that being said, I'm like, this is interesting because I've seen parents that seem like, worst case scenario, maybe they had a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a home that may have had like you say, a legal matter that was going on, and because of that, they removed the children, or just the parents themselves made a mistake, or they might have, took their child to the doctor, and then the doctors or whoever made the assumption they're not a good parent, and
Right.
children was removed. So in other words, what I'm saying, just to make the long story short, it seems like I've seen good parents that really love their children. Children are abruptly taken away without
Mm-hmm.
really giving enough time or a chance to prove that they're not this parent that they think they are, where you have another parent who has a history of loads of CPS abuse or whatever the case may be, and they keep their kids. So
Mm-hmm.
that just is confusing.
Right, like it's not even playing field. Yeah, there's was a case that I read. I want to say this one of the Harris County cases. A
Mhm.
woman had one of her children die, passed away in a accidental drowning. They had a pool.
My God.
and the child died accidentally. Now she had like two or three other children.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she called 911. She's frantic. She's at, it was an accident. It was a mistake.
Right, of course.
And so CPS came and they took her other children.
Wow.
Immediate, like no kind
No
of
even thinking about it. Yeah.
right. Immediate took her other children. And of course, she had to jump through all these hoops. Well, she was fortunate enough to have the funds to afford an attorney.
Okay. Praise God.
Right. So they fought
It's
tooth
needed.
and nail and they gave them the children back. And then she decided to file a suit
Mm-hmm.
against CPS. And I think even brought in the attorney general into
Oh,
it.
wow.
So it's an
Big
interesting
case.
to read. I'll come across and I'll just give it to you. You can put it on your Facebook page.
Okay.
But it was very interesting to hear that because it's like they didn't do any investigation. She's already distraught
Of
because she lost a
course.
child to
Of
a
course.
pool accident. Now you've taken all of her other children, and anyone involved in a CPS case knows nothing happens overnight.
It does not.
It can take months, if not years,
Years.
for
Yes.
you to get your children back. So during all this time,
My
they're
God.
in foster care. You don't know what's going on in foster care, what
You.
kind of influences they meet, and
Ooh,
they're around.
my God.
I mean,
Wow.
you don't
I
know.
got a lot
And
of
you
bad
get
stories
your
about
children out
foster
and they're totally
homes.
different now. Now you got to put them in therapy, and now it's like it the system is broken. I
It's
will say
broken.
that
It is.
the system is
Absolutely.
broken.
Right.
And I
Yes.
do have to say that CPS was set up for the best interest of the children. Like it's a necessity. Okay, we have
Correct.
to have CPS.
Right. We do. I mean, because
We
we have cases where, like we just
yes,
shared, that is needed for those cases.
right. It is needed, but
Wow.
it is broken. It needs to be fixed. But we as a community as well, we need to step up and hold them accountable. We need to stop being afraid because remember, they're an administrative.
That's right.
They work in an administrative field, not in any type of criminal enforcement or anything. That is going to the court. All they do is make a recommendation and they send it to the court to enforce it. Okay, so they're administrative.
They administrator. I'm so
They
glad you said that.
Yes, they're administrative. We need to stand up. We need to voice our opinions. We need to fight back and say these laws need to be changed. There needs to be some type of revamp,
Absolutely.
not just in the statute, but also in the offices.
Mm.
Hire more people. We're Stop cutting the funds for
Please
social
stop.
services.
Correct. Please get up.
Contact your congressman and get more money
My
to
God.
pay these people so you
Yeah.
can hire more people so one person doesn't have 500
A
cases.
500 laws that can easily be mishandled because they're
Right.
overbearing.
Because
That
they are human beings.
right. Oh
If
my
you have 500 cases sitting on your desk, you mean to tell me you know all of them in and out?
correct, because you don't. Not
You
those
don't.
ones. Right. Oh, that's good, Alon. You are dropping some nuggets. Talk about it.
So
Woo.
get involved. Contact your congressperson. That's what they're supposed to be there for.
That's what
Okay,
that's their job.
Congress,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We need them to
Call
stop
in,
cutting social service funds
please.
and fund the human services, fund child protective services, so they can provide the services that these children need, that the workers need,
Yes.
so that no child falls in between the cracks and gets
Oh
lost.
my, oh my. Because with that being said, Alana, those foster homes, I have heard that again, statistics have shown a child is normally safer with if they can't be with their parents, if they can temporarily be placed with somebody in your family, something of that nature. Because, like you said, a lot of times I know someone personally, her children had, like you said, had ended up being split up. They didn't stay together. So you dealing with two totally different households with different people, different spirits, different, and everybody don't love children. Some people just getting to get that check. You
Absolutely.
so don't be misconstrued that thinking I'm just what, we're almost out of time.
Yeah,
You
no.
have provided so much information. I couldn't stop listening, and oh my God, I'm gonna have to bring you back, Alana. I mean, I'm
I'm happy to come back.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I will definitely be requesting you to come back because you have brought so much information that's going to help so many families. And with that being said, Alana, if our viewers have any questions, because I also know that you do other services that maybe families may need, dealing with probates and wills and things of that sort, dealing with, CPS or family services. So you're a plethora of knowledge, even with your mom. I would love to bring her on the show if she can to share her experience from her level being a director and wearing so many hats dealing with the foster system. You say also she was a social worker or the director, and
Mhm.
my God, she has the inside information and know how it works. And I would love to pick her brain as well to see what she can, bless us with knowledge so we can be aware of. So, in the meantime, Alana, how can you be reached? Is there a way that the listening audience want to contact you? How can you be reached?
Absolutely. We have a website, texasstateParalegals.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Texas State Paralegals. We're on Twitter, BK Paralegals. You can also give us a call at 972-895-9581.
All right. I hope everybody heard that. That is a way where Alana can be contacted. She is an awesome paralegal here in Texas, and she have a plethora of knowledge and connections to people that know so much about the laws, dealing with CPS, dealing with child custody, and so much more. So I will be bringing her back. Again, Alana, thank you for sharing your
Thank you.
story. Thank you for bringing in your knowledge and helping our family. So God bless you, and we will be in touch with you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. She taught me some things that, listen, again, knowledge is power. And she shares some things that you can just really use in just your everyday life. I thank God for these connections. I thank God for this platform, Attorney Vince, the producer Grace, for bringing on people like Alana and other people sharing their stories and their family experiences. It just, again, iron sharpens irons. I just want to say that we're at the end of the show. Actually, I went over, so I need to get ready just to tell you thank you again for watching. Don't give up fighting for your kids. Keep God first and just watch and see. As long as you keep going, where there is a will, there is a way. So, again, I'm your host, Latrika Jones. Have a blessed weekend.